Welcome back to another Free Game Friday, everyone. This is going to be episode number 3, game number 2, Rebel Galaxy, brought to you by Double Damage. And again, this is going to be the series where we take the 2 free games on PlayStation Plus that are free for each month. We're going to dive into them briefly and let you guys know whether or not they're worth downloading, whether or not they're worth purchasing. If you miss this episode, or if you miss the game while it's free, and you're catching this episode, say, sometime other than August or early September. Now, starting off with this game, we're going to be talking about the soundtrack, which is awesome. It more or less plays throughout the entire game. Along with that, you get a nice little intro, where again, this plays in the background, and we're going to let that take over right here.
6 days ago, you received a cryptic message from your Aunt Juno, the family black sheep who you haven't seen or heard from in over 10 years. The message provided the access codes to the Rasputin, a near-derelict spacecraft and a relic of her younger days. Also included were the coordinates to Rust City, an out-of-the-way space station with a questionable reputation. She practically begged you to meet her there as quickly as possible. Now, after several days of travel and a few unscheduled maintenance stops, you have at last arrived. This is a place of liars and thieves. You wonder how you let yourself get dragged to such a godforsaken backwater.
Now, as the, narrator just stated, you're brought out to the edge of the universe looking for a family member, Aunt Juno. You're not really sure where she is, but you're trying to locate her through different situations, like battling, conversations like this one, and this is where you can kind of choose. Your response doesn't exactly affect the way the game is played. However, the decisions you make do. It's similar to an Infamous kind of setup. If you guys played or remember that game, you can choose whether or not you want to be hero or villain, so kind of whether or not you want to be a pirate or if you want to be an escort, kind of help people out a little bit. And that's one of the really interesting aspects of this game. When you're just out and about in the world, you can choose how you want to react to certain people, and it will dictate how certain groups of individuals react to your presence. Makes for a really interesting kind of decision-based gameplay. Whenever you approach stations like this, you get 2 options: docking automatically or docking with the X button. It'll show that later. But again, it's just another really interesting feature. When you pull up this little mini-map thing here, it's going to give you 2 options, Pulse and Map. Pulse kind of gives you an idea of what's around you, and this is the map. And guys, I just gotta say, this thing is huge.
That's what she said.
It opens up so many possibilities for different places you can go. I'm not even sure I scratched the surface, honestly, which is amazing and actually really strong positive to the game. However, it also provides a very stark negative, which we'll get to here in a few minutes in the video. Another thing to look at when you dock, which we're doing right now, you get different options. You can visit the bar, you can go to different places within the station, one of them being your crafts, and there you can look at different things you can fly in. Another one is the Commodities Market, and that's what we're looking at here. You get many different options, things like metallic ore, data cubes, intellectual property, obtainium, gold ingots, all of these different things. You buy a certain amount and it puts it in hold and you can purchase it. Now, if you're wondering why the prices are different colors, it's pretty self-explanatory. Green is a higher price than normal, red is lower than normal, white is neutral. Now, these different prices are actually affected by in-game scenarios, so if something happens within the game that alters those in any way, you'll actually see that difference here. So the idea is that you want to buy while they're low and sell while they're high. And that alone made for a really interesting aspect of the game, because you could see these different prices change and make a profit off of them. And really, you didn't necessarily have to do missions. You could travel from station to station and see what is happening there, whether or not they're in a tech boom. I can't remember what the other names for these are, but different situations that will sort of alter the prices. And it was a really interesting way of allowing players to go to different locations for different reasons, more than just missions. Well, you could see what was going on there and how it affected market prices. And this brings us to that stark negative I was referring to earlier, and that is travel time. Guys, travel time in this game, it's similar to what No Man's Sky looks like. I have not yet played that game, but lots of travel time, even if you're at quote-unquote warp speed, which is pretty fast. However, it doesn't really help. You're still going to be going in a straight line for, I think at one point I was in warp speed, just going straight towards an objective for, honestly, probably about 10 minutes real time. We finally reached this asteroid belt, but again, just kind of ridiculous on the travel time. Again, the map is huge and it's awesome, and I thought that maybe these little warp areas where it recommended you warping was a sort of tricky kind of way to load the game. However, the entire map is loaded all at once. So if you stop somewhere, you're going to get to access that entire part of the map, whatever's there, which is pretty interesting. It's just going to take away from time that you have doing missions. That'd be really the only downside to it. But overall, it's a great map size. The ships need to be faster, or at least this one does, because starting out, it takes entirely too long to get certain places. There were times when I would get bored because I would see how much longer I had to travel, and I would just give myself something else to do. Now, if you're not careful with that, you can run into enemy ships. We'll come to that in just a minute. And right here is going to be where you can buy different upgrades for your ship. There's many different missiles and different secondaries and primaries and things like that. Another option within this kind of ship altering area is different ships themselves. There's a couple of different ones, this one being the Tannhausen. Just kind of looking through that one, there's the different specs on the right. This one's going to be the Scarab. Its maneuverability is very fast, speed is average, and each one has its own unique set of equipment that it comes with, and its own unique set of abilities and how great or poor they are. This is the Vanguard, and that's one of the larger ships. Manticore, again, each one having their own unique sort of set of skills, if you want to call them that. And we're actually coming now to the next part of this video, which is going to be naming the ships. You can actually name your own ship. I went with Sanguinum, which is blood in Latin, mostly just because of the color of the ship. It was just mostly red, so I figured red for blood would be a pretty cool name. Now we're looking again at the different types of cannons and launchers and different weapon systems you can get in the game. Switching back over now to traveling, and this is what happens when you run into an enemy. Enemy hostiles are able to alter your speed and keep you from going to warp speed, which is what we were just in, and when that happens, you're going to be engaging in a fight. They aren't easy to escape from, so once you're in them, it's best to just do your best to fight them out. However, this was a red threat level, I believe, which is hard because you've blue, green, yellow, and red, as far as I could tell. There may be orange, but I didn't really stumble across that too much. One of the things you're going to notice in this is that I do actually get pretty overwhelmed pretty quickly, which is not something I'd expect for this early in a game. However, they will humble you quickly. They'll show you right off the bat that you really are not equipped to take on some of these enemies. And the game actually recommends going to play side campaign missions, instead of the main story, which is awesome for a game to do. I mean, it's more or less promoting longer gameplay, which extends the life of the game itself. And right here, you can see a bunch of I'm taking a bunch of damage. This little portion over here on the bottom left-hand corner are the shields and the hull status. I've lost most of the left, pretty much all of the left. The rest of it's going to go pretty soon, and yes, you can be destroyed in space. If you are destroyed, you just load back in. against these red level enemies, it's going to be really difficult to square off and actually win, especially early on in the game. I've upgraded my ship since recording this, which makes things a little easier against these threats, and those threats will actually go down as you upgrade. The game will automatically alter those. But yeah, right there I got destroyed. Not a great start of the game. It was a little frustrating because that was only about 20 or 30 minutes in. Another way you can be destroyed, I wasn't sure if this would work, so I thought I'd give it a try, is approaching gravity, the gravity pull of, the gravitational pull, sorry, of a planet. And as you can see, it kind of looks like I'm entering the atmosphere, which is really cool. Probably the best way to die in this game, honestly. It's just really interesting that this actually blows you up. Now, granted, they're not going to allow you to enter a planet. That would require the game to be much larger than just, I think it's 2.6 gigs to download it. But yeah, guys, overall, it was a very interesting game. We're actually approaching the end of the episode here. Download it. While it's free, definitely download it. This game's going to be $20 when it's not free. So starting September 6th, it will no longer be free. $20. I would say it's worth it. And this is going to be the end of the episode right here, guys. Make sure you like the video, and if you'd like to, go ahead and subscribe while you're at it. We're going to be having these every 2 weeks out of the month. It's going to be the second week and the third week of the month. And as always, stay frosty, stay humble.